Welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, let's talk about completing the relationship. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, we are talking a little bit about the life cycle of a customer. If you are a small business owner, if you are a business owner at all that depends on other people, other companies, whether you're B2B, B2C, business to business, business to customer, whether you're serving the populace and masses or a very specific niche, and you are depending on other people to provide revenue for you in order for you to stay in business and pay your bills and pay your employees and pay yourself, then this is for you. Because as we talk about a little bit, we'll go in and out about talking about the life cycle of whether it be client acquisition, client upkeep, client termination, if that may be a thing for your business, that you have a very short cycle around the whole from start to end, or it may be just an ongoing perpetual one. But I want to talk a little bit and focus on the beginning of that relationship, because it is a relationship. Whether you are a local coffee shop that started in your community and you serve, if you've got maybe a couple apartment buildings that you get repeat clientele, or you're near an office park or a hospital or something and you get lots of repeat clientele, you are creating a relationship with them. And now it may not be, you as the business owner, if you're not working day to day and being the face and the barista or the customer service representative in your company, it may not be that face-to-face kind of personal relationship, but it is absolutely a corporate relationship to your customer base. And this is something that is critical to understand to start with, because if you're opening a coffee shop just because you really love coffee and you like serving coffee without understanding that, especially in a business like a coffee shop, it is very relational based. People come to it because they enjoy the atmosphere, they enjoy the interaction they have with the people that work there and the other customers that come there more, or as just as much as the coffee itself or the pastries you may serve. And this applies to any and all other businesses. And this could absolutely be with vendors that you have, and certainly with relationships that you have within your organization, especially if you have a larger organization. But specifically, we're talking about completing that relationship with customers, with clients, with future prospects. Because there is a point where you go through this initial kind of courtship. Whether it be in the form of marketing, where you're introducing people to your world and what you have to offer, your product, your service, your coaching, your anything that you have that you're selling, you go through this initial process of, yes, you need to make sure that you are made known in your marketplace. But then as you get people in and they become more aware, and maybe they're, maybe it's in the form of a sales call or a sales visit, or they come into your store if you run a brick and mortar store, or they hit your website and they're looking around. That is the beginnings of that relationship. But it's not really a completed relationship, is it? Because at that point, it's really just one-sided. It's them getting information. It's them, learning more about what you have to offer and if it can solve their problems or solve the needs that they have in whatever form, fashion that may be. And it isn't until you complete that initial relationship cycle in the form of a transaction has been made. And we measure that in business by what? We measure it by money. We measure it by revenue. So you complete that transaction, or you complete that that relationship between customer and company when customer transacts with you. They exchange you money, or maybe it is a service for service or something like that. But there is an exchange made, value for value, typically, and what we will refer to throughout the rest of this short podcast will be money for your services, money for your program, money for your product, whatever that is. And it is such a critical aspect, because one of the chief issues with sales is that people never ask for the sale, especially if you're in something that is not, they roll up and they're like, oh, I need a pack of chewing gum. They pull a pack of chewing gum and they buy it. It's out of pure need or pure want. But when you have a product that maybe is a little more involved and you've got multiple options or even competition, a common issue, a common problem with salespeople, or people that are definitely not trained in sales, and they're in this position where they need to ask for the sale, or they've done a presentation, is you don't ask for the sale. You don't complete the relationship in the form of a transaction. And I would argue that it is not until that step has done, it is not until they hand you your credit card and you run it and it gets authorized for whatever amount you're charging. It is not until they hand over the cash or write the check that relationship is solidified to the form that it is now mutually beneficial, right? We want to pay for good services. People that get things for free don't value it. They know at their core that free thing is not going to probably solve their problem. That free thing is not going to address the need that they have, at least to a quality outcome. But when we transact and we complete that relationship, whether you're on the consumer end or the business or the provider end, there is an expectation and a almost kind of, I don't know how to say it exactly, subconscious background switch in your mind that, okay, I've now paid you for something, and this is the expectation of what's going to happen with that service. Does that make sense? I know I'm not doing a very good job explaining it because I'm trying to figure out the right way, but the psychology behind the issue of transaction. When you hand somebody money, there is psychology that takes place of now you value that thing so much more than if you get free. And then, of course, if you just never ask for it, then they never transact, and more than likely, they never will transact until you ask for the sale. So that's really my biggest takeaway for this short podcast is this concept of ensuring that you are completing that relationship with your customers in the form of, if you're not already, or if this is something that is required by your business, asking for the sale. You've done your presentation, whether it's feature, advantages, benefits, or just explaining what you're all about, whatever that is for you, at the end of it going, have I answered all your questions? Addressing any objections that have come up, and will that be cash or charge? Will that be Visa or MasterCard? What is here are wire instructions, depending on how big or expensive your product is. When can we schedule the install? All those types of things are closing questions in the form designed to complete that relationship and create happy and satisfied customers and clients. Does that make sense? So think about that. If it is a critical piece you are missing, we can absolutely help you with that and go through and teach you those kind of steps to the sale and that cycle, that initial cycle of acquiring customers and going through that sales process. If you are hearing or seeing that your salespeople, if you have dedicated salespeople or even people that are informal salespeople in your organization, if they are doing presentations and you're not getting any closes and no one's buying from you, take the time. Expend the effort and the energy, to do the role playing, to review tapes if you do it over the phone, listen to Zoom calls and say, hey man, you did this phenomenal presentation. They were totally on board, but you never asked for the sale. Like, you got to complete the transaction. You got to complete the relationship so you enter an actual relationship with your client and you can fully serve them and provide that product and service to them. And make sure your people are doing that. And if this is you, don't be afraid of it. Like, it's no surprise if you're in a presentation, like, they know you're selling something. They want to be talking to you if they weren't at least marginally interested. So ask for the sale. And if you don't get it, ask why. Ask what you're missing. Ask what is missing from the product that's not meeting their needs, and then go back and fix and adjust. So you can better fact find and better figure out all those types of things. So I won't get into too much in the sales cycle in general, but this is a critical key component of it, is completing that relationship in the form of a compensation being made on both ends. Does that make sense? All right. Again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. If there are other people that would enjoy listening to this type of content, I know it's not for everybody, but definitely if you are in that role of a small business leader or a department head, something of that nature where you are in charge of other people or running a business, this is absolutely for you. And I'm hoping certainly the next couple of weeks are going to be massively beneficial for you in these small tips and tricks to get you up and rolling and as successful as you possibly can be. I appreciate you, and no matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.